Greetings, folks. Thank you for joining me. In these videos, we are discussing the nature of the times. Today is Wednesday, August 12th, 2020. My name is Timothy Halloran. I am a person. This one might be a little fun. By the way, please don't shoot the messenger. As we enter into August, we are entering into one of the major cosmological periods that's going to take all life on this planet roughly now through the very beginning of 2021. The indicator coming from our solar system is Mars retrograde. And we can say that this Mars retrograde period, again, roughly August through January of 2021, these themes they're already beginning. This journey is already initiating. Mars entered the shadow of his forthcoming retrograde period at the very end of July, beginning of August. Mars will station retrograde and return to the same place where Mars has been these last couple of weeks. So again, themes that we see being introduced end of July, beginning of August, we can expect some returning to, some reflection upon, and wrapping up of loose ends or changing of directions, recoursing, that can be going on in mid-November when Mars returns to the same position where he is currently transiting. Now, Mars is also going to square the planets Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn 3 times now through January of 2021. Mars first squared Jupiter at the start of August, is going to square Pluto tomorrow, August 13th. That's a very powerful, passionate intensity that we're experiencing this week. And then Mars is going to square Saturn at the end of August, where Mars is going to station retrograde at 28 degrees Aries and hang out in an exact square to Saturn for roughly the next 2 months. Now, this initial phase of Mars retrograde, this coming season of the next month, month and a half, this can be pretty tense, reactive, dynamic, unstable, and challenging. Yeah, this Mars hanging out in a square to Saturn. It is as if we are entering a roughly 2-month period of breakdowns. And we can certainly anticipate that we are going to be observing some very real global tensions this fall time if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. Certainly there is a militant, frustrating, like a grinding, angry tension. And again, we can see some of this in the world in terms of, political battling, war tension, and a societal infrastructural breakdown. As we've been saying, this year of 2020 is the year of socio-economic breakdown, and this is heralding the 2 decades of some of the most revolutionary and fast-paced period of our lifetime. And so this infrastructural breakdown is necessary, but it can also be challenging. This bureaucratical failure. And again, we can anticipate some of this taking place globally in these next couple months, as well as anticipating some of these experiences and themes to be explored and experimented with in highly unique ways for each of us individual people. Now here you can check your own birth chart, roughly 10 to 30 degrees of the cardinal signs: Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. Okay, 10 to 30 degrees of those signs, planets you have in those signs are going to be receiving this Mars retrograde influence and challenged to go through some type of revision, course correction, improvement in the effort and endeavor of strength development. This Mars retrograde is certainly a rite of passage, but this rite can be initiating us into a power, a strength, and a nobility that we can very much take forward in the long term. Mars retrograde takes place roughly every 2 years. It is always a powerful period of exploring, developing, revising, and renewing all themes related to Mars. Mars themes are desire, instinct, gut reaction, anger, fear, sexuality, the animus, the masculine, the sword of willpower, control, leadership, protection. Now, I like to say that the high octave of Mars, Mars in its greatest potential, is like the knight in shining armor. And there is a chivalry with the knight in shining armor. There is a devotion to justice, protection, service, and defense of the underdog, the outspoken, or the downtrodden. I like to say that Mars, if there's something scary at the window or the door, some scary sound, Aries, Mars, jumps up and says, I'll go check that out. Just driven by this instinct to protect and a courage and a confidence to go where others dare not go. That's Mars. That's what we're working and striving towards in highly individual ways these next couple months. Mars retrograde invites us into an exploration of desires. What do we really want? Mars is our passion. What are we really passionate about? What does our inner animal, our body, require in order to be strong and healthy? This Mars retrograde taking place entirely in Mars' own sign of Aries. And square Saturn and Pluto Jupiter, this is going to bring a huge amount of attention to our bodies and our health, especially as we'll get into Virgo season, as we shall discuss. This is also an opportunity to recognize and clear away any unwanted habits or addictions. Again, it brings a big focus to our body, and our physical health is going to be a theme very, very much up on the forefront these weeks and these coming months. What freedom? Mars is freedom, a need for open road, a need for space to explore. What independence, what individual needs do we require? And again, this Mars retrograde can wake us up to this, even potentially through the experience of limitation. Hey, we're cut off from something we need, and that wakes us up to the importance and what is required and what adjustments are needed in order to bring this necessary desire or track or open road into our life to be healthy, empowered in our bodies and in our own individuality. Mars is going to be retrograde from September 9th to November 13th. In that particular period, we are learning through a trial and error. For those who were born during a Mars retrograde, this may be a theme that's certainly familiar to you. Is this discovering of what we're passionate about, discovering our true, authentic desires through elimination or a reducing, trying something out or acting on an instinct or acting on an impulse, and then why? Why did I do that? Why did I have that outburst? Why did I have that instinct? Why did I have that compulsion? And the inquiry, the going within, allows us to revise, and through this trial and error, like shooting arrows at the target, time and time again to see what misses and what strikes, this is how we're discovering our true passions, our true desires, and what directions we can honor as individuals to honor our own path throughout life. Indeed, we all must learn to embrace a level of tension, handle intensity, how to breathe and relax through the discomfort, the winter pathways, and be flexible while we go through this trial and error, while we go through this season of breakdowns, while we go through this period where there can absolutely be dead ends. And we can't force a square peg through a round hole. That's going to be one of the most redundant suggestions that I keep coming back to throughout this period, is we have to be flexible. When we are going through such intensity, the more forceful we are. It has to be a particular way. It has to be done in a particular time. I must meet these requirements. This is what my parents, society, religion, that type of forcefulness is what actually leads to trauma, where we are resisting something so intensely, it causes a fragmentation in our own consciousness. So the best way to get through this winter passageway is to be finding that path of least resistance, as in not forcing a square peg through a round hole, and yet we're all needing to act, we're all needing to do, we're all needing to put in the effort. And the value is very much in the effort. The trial and error will eventually yield results, even if it's not at the timeline that we may have at this particular time. Mars retrograde is going to invite redirection and recoursing, and that's the way to get to the greatest potential. We can still honor our desires, but we're learning how to make them real. That's the square to Saturn. How to really be free in a day and age where freedom's not served to us on a silver platter. How to be sexually liberated when we're handed so many societal prejudices, stigmas, and expectations from our parents and prior generations. So many religious and spiritual programs that are outdated, unrealistic, so on and so forth. So that's where this readjustment's taking place. How we can honor our needs for freedom. Mars rules desire. And desire is the leading edge of our soul's evolution. We cannot resist, suppress, or dissociate from our desires. We have to create the open road, the supportive container, the right people to be able to explore these desires. And Mars is instinctual, coming from the body, the sexuality, the inner animal. They're not necessarily always understood. And we therefore have to do this delicate balancing of creating a safe space. No one's being harmed, no one's being intruded upon, but we're exploring these fundamental desires. The desires coming from our gut, our body, our instincts, our sex drive are connected to our soul's deeper, more unconscious desires. And by acting and exploring these Mars gut reactions, desires, why are we angry? Why are we fearful? We have to explore. Anger is a protective emotion. There's something instinctively getting pushed away or something instinctively being protected. So there's this exploration. Fear is the same thing. It's like a magnet. You know, we get pushed or pulled away from particular things. And this is an invitation for us to explore why. What are the deeper reasons? What is our soul telling us in terms of how to step into our greater potential, our greater power, and honor our uniqueness? Mars is our individuality. Mars is the sword that separates us at the umbilical cord from our mothers. And we are each on individual journeys for good reason. We're exploring and discovering different interests, different themes, different desires for our own soul's learning and growth. So again, suggestion is, don't go too fast. Don't force. Take it all with a grain of salt. And very, very much these next couple of months, there's a theme of kind of reeling it in. Mars first quarter square to Pluto tomorrow. You know, end of August is this like, woo, let's go for it. You know, hunger, desire, passion, intensity, and just this desire to go for it, let loose. There's a wild stallion energy with that first quarter square. And we have to learn to tame this beast. We're like seeing this energy and, you know, how passionate it is and, you know, how it's affecting our body and our mind. And what can we do to kind of rope and lasso this in? We're really taming this beast. We're taming this wild stallion. So that way we have this vehicle to take with us forward as we enter into the following year of 2021. How we're doing it now, how we're planning it, is going to need some course correction. Before the year's up, and this isn't the end of the world, no fear. This is in the endeavor of authentic empowerment and strength development. Now Venus, We mentioned in the last video that Venus went through her retrograde period and was in the sign of Gemini from April through August 7th. So we've been wrapping up these Venus-Gemini themes since April. We've been meeting new faces, connections, networks, interests, ideas, and how to distribute, how to connect with like minds, how to share what we're interested with those who possess similar interests themselves. So there's been a social butterfly, exciting, communicating, networking. And now that Venus has entered Cancer August 7th, where she will remain through September 6th, there can be a bit of an experience of slowing down, tuning in, reflecting. Venus in Cancer is much more soft, much more emotional. We're coming into a deeper connection with others. The last 2 days, August 10th to 11th, there is a mutual reception between the moon in Taurus, Venus in Cancer. There's this kind of slowing down, coming in, tuning into our inner feminine, providing an emotional support for ourselves and for those that we are now connecting with. Tuning into a more family, supportive, you're safe here vibe, as well as making a comfortable environment, a shell that we can return to. Cancer is the crab, comfortable in her own shell, safe in her own body, in her own home. Now this coming weekend, on the 16th, Venus is going to form a first quarter square to Chiron in Aries. This can pull the heartstrings, especially for our more Venusian, poetic, bleeding hearts. Venus square Chiron is the healing of our heart through the experience of triggers or through themes involving relationships and our hearts coming up. And there can be some experience of separation or heartbreak, distancing, a protection of the heart. There can be an avoiding of intimate contact in order to avoid these painful feelings. And yet in approaching, embracing, seeking support, we can heal from our trauma bonds. We can heal the push-pull dynamic that keeps us running between the desire and the need for closeness and running away from closeness out of the exposure of our own heart's sensitivities and vulnerabilities. This Venus square to Chiron can also be reflecting back to experiences or themes introduced end of January, beginning of February, particularly involving our hearts, relationships, and sharing of what we value. And again, this is another stage, another step of healing through this exposure therapy rather than running away from the vulnerability and the feelings in our own hearts. Uranus, stationing retrograde, August 15th, 10 degrees of Taurus. Mercury squares that Uranus on the 10th before coming into a superior conjunction with the Sun, joining our new moon in Leo the following day, Tuesday, August 18th, 10:40 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This new moon in Leo creates a grand fire trine between Mars in Aries as well as the moon's south node in Sagittarius. This new moon is also quincunx to Saturn retrograde in Capricorn. There is an opportunity with this new moon. We can sow a seed here that will take us through the forthcoming lunar cycle throughout the majority of September. Sowing a seed for the night. There's a beautiful grand fire trine here. Sowing a seed for our masculine, defensive, protected nobility. To sow a seed to be empowered in our own yang. To be centered and truthful in our own unique individuality, self-expression. This is an opportunity to sow a seed for the blossoming of the energetic body, to be in our passion, to be situated in our light, to be situated in our confidence as the rainbow warrior. The superior conjunction of Mercury and the Sun initiates a new Mercury cycle. This can bring in new clarity and perspectives of our directions, our own personal interests, and again, our own unique and individual desires, stemming from our body, our individuality, that sense of excitement and spontaneity coming from the inner child. This is who I am. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to share. This is what I want to play. And breathing in that light, breathing in that confidence to be our own authentic, spontaneous self. Again, we can really be exploring desire is a central focus now through September. And even while we are challenged to remain flexible and experimental, my goodness, Uranus stationing retrograde this month, we have to be very experimental. So to harness the energy of this new moon to be in personal integrity. The definition of integrity is honest. Honesty with strong moral principles. We know who we are. We know what goodness is. We know what goodness feels like. We stand up for goodness. We stand up for protection. The knight in shining armor defends the outspoken and the downtrodden. That's the seed. That's the opportunity here. Integrity means whole, undivided, singular, focused, empowered. This new moon in Leo can bestow an honor, honoring our individuality, respecting the otherness of others, honoring our own duties, our own gifts, our own contributions back. Leo is the wisdom that every single soul is a divine child of God, and each and every one of us has been gifted a unique instrument in the overall orchestra. So there's trumpet players, there's flute players, there's oboe players, and each individual lets loose on our instrument. We let the cat out of the bag. The trumpet player plays the trumpet. The trumpet player is not concerned about the flute players playing of the flute. However, every single instrument is contributing to the overall orchestra, the overall symphony. So the attunement is into the divine dance, the divine music, but simultaneously we let loose. We let the cat out of the bag. We spontaneously release and radiate our heart's own creative and sexual energy. The same way the sun, the ruler of Leo, spontaneously releases and radiates his own sexual, creative energy, impregnating the solar system with life. The radiation of our own love and our own creative sexual energy can be inspiring, uplifting, again protective, and contributing to this overall symphony and orchestra. This is what we have the opportunity to devote ourselves to with honor, with commitment, and with the devotion of the knight in shining armor, to be in our own integrity, which means being in our own optimal health, our own power, so that way we can show up in the world as the individuals that we are without conforming, without losing ourselves to fear, inadequacy, or being swept off our feet by the irrelevant opinions and feedbacks of those that don't truly understand us for who we are in our heart, our soul, and our depth. Uranus stationing retrograde in Taurus is also an indicator going on this month. We say there's a lot of tension. Well, here we go. Uranus in Taurus stationing retrograde is an indicator of the socio-economic revolution. Money, agriculture, resources, as they're being traded and distributed through our world, going through a period of unrest and experimentation. On an individual level, resources, immediate environment, money, going through a period of experimentation. How do we get what we need? With simplicity, sovereignty, and self-resourcefulness. The experience of Uranus stationing retrograde is an electrical, pioneering, divine dissatisfaction. The experience is, it could be done better. We can improve things. It can be done differently. And again, we want to be as flexible, as experimental as humanly possible right now, and with Uranus and Taurus, especially in the areas of resources. space, immediate environment, simplicity, stability, creature comforts is Taurus. How do we feel abundance? Are we generating abundance in our life? How can we generate abundance in our life? Easily, simply, without having to overextend or give our energies to the system or the others or the interferences that serve as a distraction to our own simple, grounded, earth-centric living. Taurus rules resources, self-sovereignty, generating these things ourselves through our connection to the earth and nature, abundance and simplicity. Coming up towards the end of the month, Mercury enters Virgo, followed by the Sun in Virgo. Virgo season begins Saturday, August 22nd. Virgo is ever seeking improvement, focus, healthy routine. Virgo does this through an elimination, a fixing, a healing by bringing attention and awareness to whatever is not working. Virgo is the polishing of the mirror. Virgo is purification through the removal of toxins. So again, as we're coming into September, this is a great time to begin planning, scheduling, of course with some flexibility involved. Don't want to be over forceful, don't want to be over militant, which is the best way and the best approach to ending addictions and unwanted habits anyways. The more we tune into our body, we find that addictions and unwanted habits fall away naturally because they are no longer serving us as we focus upon what is most empowering, what is most healing, and really fills us up in the most healthy way. Between Virgo season and Mars retrograde, you can bet we're paying attention to our bodies and our health, end of August through September. Virgo can be challenging and rewarding in how crisis and the experience of what's not working or what's falling apart can give us a push into what is needed or what is missing, or simply what needs revision. And this can also bestow the necessary humility, tact, and focus to embrace life's imperfections as necessary and useful feedback and not a sign of failure. Nobody's failing these next couple of months. We're learning feedback from life so we can recourse and readjust. We can use Virgo season to hone in on the actual work, function, service, ritual, or routine that allows us to experience fullness through our own commitments and our own devotion. Highlighted, bolded, underlined, the value is in the effort. This is our one-liner mantra, at least through the end of September. Do not let the challenges and pressures of life erode from your soul's passions and commitments. Rather, walking the razor's edge these weeks, we may find ourselves refining skills and honing in on capabilities we're taking with us for the long haul. Even if we can be willing to roll up our sleeves, get our hands in the dirt, and work for a little while, like the potter shaping his pot to perfection, we can create something truly amazing and beautiful. We are all on the construction crew of transmutation, molting, changing the materials at hand through the alchemy of the soul, which is divine passion, divine energy, and divine desire. Mars. So go forth, my friends, pull out your swords, trailblaze, experiment, and be very forgiving and flexible, all the meanwhile. For those interested in learning astrology, I have started my Astro School. We're going to begin with the zodiac this month. Patreon members also get additional videos. You're going to get an in-depth look at Mars retrograde as it pans out through the end of this year. And for all the rest of you out there, thank you for your support. Thanks for viewing. YouTube stuff, thumbs up, subscribe, I don't know, ring the donkey bell, whatever it may be. And thank you so much for the opportunity to continue to connect with like minds. Super in love with my growing Patreon community and the sense of support that we can give one another as we recognize our interconnectivity and we go through this tremendous year of 2020 together. Wishing you absolutely all the best, and as always, take care.